Point about the hiring managers having a real need is really significant. I mean, just remember that. Like, it's tough when a position is vacant. You really need somebody great. You're actually committing to that person sometimes for years at a time, so you really want the right person. So focusing on that match, I think, makes a lot of
focusing
sense.
on the fact that they have needs. You know, you're not pathetic. You're not needy. They have needs. And it's really hard to find skilled people. So if you can just focus on your skills, like what are you good at? Focus on those and how they solve problems, how you've solved problems, and come across that way as a problem solver who's, looking around at her opportunities. Just frame it that way. You have opportunities, they're out there, you're looking at them.
So we have a juicy one from Jane. How would you recommend approaching follow-up emails, letters for job interviews? You are needing the job after all, but what would be a good tone to take?
So we're presuming that you've had the interview. Okay, so you should definitely write a follow-up note right after the interview, emphasizing your core strengths that you talked about in the meeting, emphasizing how they meet their needs, which you talked about in the meeting. So they have their needs, and you're restating their needs and how you match their needs, and how excited and passionate you are about the opportunity, right? So you do that immediately after the job interview, and then you wait because things happen. People get busy. They've set up 5 interviews for the week. They're not going to contact you till after those are done, right? It doesn't always just happen like that. Just because you think it's love at first sight, and they might feel like it's love at first sight, there are steps and procedures that they might have to follow before calling you in again. And then I would say politely reach out after a week, right? After a week, if you haven't heard back, reach out and just say, hey, I'm wondering if you got my note thanking you for the interview and, when I might hear back from you. So very confident, very poised, very gracious, just wondering when I might hear back from you.
I feel like we should have made that point earlier, too, about following up. So when let's say you do cold call someone or you make a contact with somebody who introduces you to someone else, following up is key. I have a little anecdote for you. So I got hired by Mediabistro in 2005, and it was really a life-changing position for me. It has been an excellent experience. But here's how it went. I heard about the job through a colleague. I was teaching at the new school, and I heard about the job from someone. He said, you should really apply for this. So great. I emailed in my materials. That was the end of that, and I was ready to move on. And I never followed up. And in fact, the person I knew who had told me about the job actually talked to someone at Mediabistro, and they said, oh, she never applied. And then he told me that, and I was like, that's not true, I applied. Well, somehow, like, either my email, resume, and cover letter went into his spam folder, or God knows what. Maybe I had his email address wrong. I really don't know. But if I hadn't followed up, I wouldn't have my job today. And at that time, I was much more shy than I am now. I was a recent transplant from the Midwest. I thought, oh, I sent this thing. That's aggressive and bold enough. And in fact, it's not. And I know this too. Like at Mediabistro, we have thousands of people contacting us. They follow up. The ones who follow up are the ones who actually make progress. So definitely don't underestimate that.
Follow-up is important, and there's a skill to following up. You don't just bother people. You have to follow up. There's a difference. Bothering is an irritating, demanding, needy email or phone call. Following up is a nice, gracious, poised email or phone call saying, hey, did you get my note? I mean, you have a right to get a response. You realize that, right? You've gone through the trouble and effort of sending in your resume, having a meeting with somebody. They've taken your time. You have an absolute right to hear back either way. But you have to demand that right in a nice way. You can't be occupying Wall Street. You got no, but you have to say it with the right tone. Like, hey, I'm a person of value, and I'm just asking for a response. That's all.
So Vanessa has a great question. Could you discuss how to approach the phone interview that seems to be the gatekeeper to the in-person interview these days? How should you handle that? So she's referring to when an HR person does like a general screening interview that could lead to an interview with the hiring manager. How do you conduct yourself on a phone interview?
Okay, you have to realize if they're screening you, they have criteria that they're trying to weed you out with, right? So if you don't meet the criteria, you're probably not going to have much of a chance at this. But the point is to look at the job description again and critically analyze it for what are the skills they're looking for. What are the problem-solving skills? What are the metrics, milestones, whatever that they've put into that job description? And then you need to meet each one with your experience. So each one, you have to reach out to this HR person over the phone and let them know, I've done this, that meets this criteria. I've done that meets the other criteria. Really point by point. She's going to be like a computer. Her brain doesn't, it's going to be like a computer. She's trying to get rid of you. So you got to stay on. You got to hang in there by just matching your skills to their needs.
Which sometimes comes down to keywords. I think it's a good way to think about it. Like an HR person is really going to be like a robot in a way. Don't quote me on that. But they're looking for very specific things. So think about those keywords, and the clues come in the job description.
Yeah, totally.
So we got just time for a couple of minutes. Laurel is going to duck out just a couple of minutes early because she has to run over to CBS to do her regular video show, which is called The Secrets of Successful Startups.
Yes, I'm going to be on for another hour from 1:30, half an hour on a live show from 1:30 to 2. I welcome you guys all to listen in and to type up your questions. I'm interviewing the founder of Sanctuary Tea. She started a small tea restaurant, and we're talking about growth. How can she grow? So it's going to be a fun conversation. We're going to give you the web URL to go to if you're interested. It's free.
So definitely check it out. I think, but we do have 2 more minutes, I think, of Laurel's time. So we've got a really hot one from Elizabeth, who has a meeting today that she needs advice for. So she's applied for a job, sent the resume and cover letter to 2 people at Scholastic who I knew through a connection. I've never met either of them, but I'm going to an event at Scholastic this afternoon where they are likely to be. How do I approach these 2 people and tell them that I'm the one who applied for the job?
I think that's pretty straightforward. Just make sure you dress for success. You wear what they would wear, okay? And you behave like they would behave. Scholastic is a little bit formal. They're not casual. So I would look good, look the part, look like them, and then just straight out introduce yourself and be friendly and don't ask for anything. But just be friendly and kind of let them know that you applied for the job, but don't say, I'm so excited, or, oh my God, it would be so great, or anything like that. Remember, be at their level. Try to be at their level and just be very poised. Like, hey, oh, it's great to meet you. We know somebody in common. Isn't that funny? And I applied for that job, just so you know. It's my name on that resume, okay?
And I have another tip for you, Elizabeth. Mediabistro did a video that shows inside the Scholastic offices. Gretchen or someone will post the link in the chat. It's a part of our Cube series. It's so good, and that's a great conversation starter because I'm sure a lot of people at Scholastic saw it.
Brilliant.
Or if not, they should see it.
Brilliant.
And then you can refer to that.
So you have 2 icebreakers. One, the friends that you have in common, and 2 is the Cubes segment.
So, Laurel, I cannot thank you enough. We're going to let you run off and go to
Show my
CBS
URL.
Interactive.
Show my URL.
They have posted it on the discussion board, and Gretchen, I think, will post it again in just a second. And I'm going to work through some of the rest of these questions to see if I can answer them. We'll let you gracefully leave.
Thank you, guys. I hope I was helpful. And go to bit.ly/startup secrets. Okay? I'll be there at 1:30. Answering your questions there.
Thanks so much, Laurel. Great to see you. Okay, I'm going to see if I can work through some of these questions while I have you here, and we have a few minutes. Okay, so Jane wanted to know, after that 1 week, would you suggest reaching out via email or phone? I think, Jane, email is the easy way, and you can see if they respond. If they don't respond, a phone call is fine. One thing I always tell people is that I get thousands of emails per day and usually about 2 phone calls, believe it or not, 2 voicemail messages. Almost no one ever calls anymore. So sometimes it can be a way to stand out. The people who do call are often salespeople, cold calling, trying to sell their product. So if you're a friendly voice on the phone, just inquiring, bye, Laurel, thank you. Then, you can do both. That would be my advice. Helene would like to know, how do you handle a phone interview? I had an in-person this week, and now they want to consider me for another position. I have a call set up for later today. Should I handle it differently? I personally think that content-wise, a phone interview and an in-person interview really don't change much. You'll want to pitch yourself. You'll want to be clear. You'll want to have that can-do attitude that Laurel was referring to. The main thing, though, is they won't really be able to read your facial expressions or emotions in that sense. So Laurel was saying smile as you do it. That's a good way of conveying emotion, even if they can't see it. And definitely, I think that kind of taking a casual, friendly tone, if you can push that a little more on the phone, it helps. I've done a lot of phone interviews with people, and I think people tend to clam up and get a little bit more formal. So if you can try to relax and move around, move your body, and it will come through nicely. That would be my 2 cents. Diane says, if you get voicemail, what sort of message should you leave? What information or approach? This is a classic question. So do you just keep calling back without leaving a voicemail? Do you leave a message? I think in a way, maybe you can try a couple of times to see if they pick up. But some people don't ever pick up their phone, and they do really closely watch their caller ID. So it just, to me, it seems, it makes a candidate seem weaker if they just keep calling without leaving a message. So I would say just in the message, just leave a message that you would want to receive. It shouldn't be long and rambling. It should be very functional and upbeat and positive and utilitarian. You know, give them the information that could help them. So let them know your phone number, let them know you'd like to hear back, that kind of thing, just the basics. You know, you can't really do a lot in a voicemail message except be friendly and show that you would be a positive person to work with. So Elizabeth is asking, how soon after you send your initial contact do you follow up without seeming pushy? So that's where Laurel had recommended 1 week. And let's see. Catherine has a question. I reached out to a company I found on Mediabistro. Perfect for me. Weeks went by. I called, and the fellow told me to send my resume and letter to him directly. I did and called, leaving a message to make sure he received the email. Haven't heard back. He said he'd received a stack of emails he hadn't looked at yet. Would following up again fall into the bothering category? Thanks. I would give him a little time, and then, you know, maybe you let another week go by and then follow up. Especially, you know, another way to approach it is if you could provide new content. Maybe you have a link to something you did. Maybe it's a link to a new blog post or something fresh that is almost an excuse to write the person. I think that helps out a lot. So we are out of time, my friends. I really wanted to thank all of you for participating and sharing your hearts and souls in this job search boot camp. I've said this on the discussion boards, and I will say it here. The measure of our success is the number of people out there who get jobs. So please keep me informed of your success. We want to hear what happens. I would also love your feedback on this specific offering. And we'll be offering another job search boot camp in January. It will have a new program. And please tell your friends about it, or if you're feeling you would like to stay connected to the community, join us. We still have the early bird rate running until, I think, mid-January, so you can get in for a really good deal, and we will continue to give you the hands-on support. But in the meantime, please finish up your homework. Your advisors are available for 1 more week, and the discussion boards and all of the materials will remain open for 4 weeks. So keep in touch, and thank you all so much. Good luck with your job search. Bye-bye.